Let me ask you something. Have you ever been doing just fine? Everything seems to be going perfectly well in your little life, and suddenly you open up Instagram and there's this grand announcement from an old classmate or even your current friend or someone who's just random, someone who you follow on the internet. You see this grand announcement, the big house, the car, the luxury vacation, and all of a sudden your cute little life starts to feel slow. It starts to look like things are not going on well for you. And you are a Christian woman. You know that it is bad to compare yourself with someone else, and you have tried to shake it off, but it's still not going away. Every time you see this announcement, every time you see people make progress in their lives, the next thing you're thinking about is, what about me? Why not me? And you start comparing your life with someone else's highlights on the internet. Now, if this is you, I see you. Okay, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad person. It is normal human behavior. In fact, it has been in existence even before social media. Okay, but we cannot stay there. No, we're getting better with our lives, right? So we cannot stay and be trapped by comparison. We have to move forward. We have to find a way to overcome it. And that is why I'm going to be sharing with you today 5 questions that have helped me overcome comparison. I'm going to be sharing all of that with you today. So grab your earpods and let's dive right in. Welcome to the Purposefully Confident podcast, the go-to space for Christian women who love God but sometimes wrestle with doubts, comparison, and feeling not enough. I am your host, Osariemen, a wife, mama of 2, and your go-to Christian life coach, here to help you ditch fear and walk boldly in your calling. Each week, we're sharing faith-filled truths and mindset shifts to help you build unshakable confidence. So grab your AirPods, sis. Let's shake off doubt and walk in purpose. First of all, let's break this down. Let's break down comparison. Comparison is simply measuring your worth against someone else's achievements, what you consider an achievement. And you know what? Life will never be fair to you this way. You would never see life as being fair because you're looking at their best moments. You're looking at the times, you're looking at the highlights of the best moments, and you're comparing it with your behind the scene. When comparison sneaks in, it brings its friends. It brings friends like self-doubt, which is always happy to come. Self-doubt is always happy to come along with comparison. It comes with jealousy. Oh, jealousy will definitely come true for sure. And distraction. And before you know it, you have lost focus. You are now focused on other people's journey and how to make sure your journey looks like theirs, that you have completely lost sight of your own. But here's what I love. God already knew that we would struggle with this. And so he's telling us in Galatians 6:4-5. He says, each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. For each one should carry their own load. And this is the NIV version, the New International Version. So God already knew that we're going to go through that, and he told us that we should take pride in ourselves alone without comparing ourselves with someone else. And this comparison could even be a spiritual comparison. It could be comparing your spiritual life with someone else who appears to be having a better walk than you spiritually. And so what this scripture is telling us is that you've got your own lane, you have your own purpose, you have your own path, and your own calling, what God has designed you to do specifically. And your worth isn't tied to how fast or how shiny someone else's race might look like. Here's the real thing. Comparison usually shows up when you are unsure of your own identity, when you haven't fully embraced who God has made you to be. It's so easy to look around and measure yourself by other people. It's not just a social media problem, right? Comparison has been around since the beginning of time. Think about David and Saul, how jealous Saul was because of the praises and the accolades David was getting, and see how it drove him into so much hatred and jealousy for David. Now let's get practical. Here are the 5 questions you need to ask yourself to help you climb out of the comparison trap. Number 1, what are my unique strengths? I want you to settle this in your heart. I want you to know this and know it in your innermost being. God will never leave anyone without a starting point. God will never leave anyone without something that is different, something they can use to create opportunities for themselves, something they can use to start. God will never leave anyone empty. He has never created anyone just as a waste. It does take some time to discover it, but there is something. I want you to know that there's something inside of you that is unique. So you need to start discovering what these things are. Ask yourself these questions every day. What are my unique strengths? What are my unique traits? Think about Elisha and the widow who had nothing, whose sons were about to be taken away for slavery because her husband had died and was owing, and the debtors were about to come and take the sons away. And Elisha asked her what she had, and she didn't even think she had anything, but she trivialized whatever it is that she had because it wasn't looking like anything, but God was able to multiply it. So ask yourself, what are my unique strengths? The second question you need to ask yourself is, how can I show up? How can I present this uniqueness in a way that will be appealing to me? You're not doing it because you want to show off. You're doing it because you want it to appeal to you. And at the end of the day, God will still get the glory from it. The third question you need to ask yourself is, what are my triggers? See, let me tell you something. Triggers are good because they help you see that there's something there that needs to be addressed. So do your audits. First of all, do your audits of your circle of friends. Do they trigger you when you see their posts? When they share the good news with you, does it trigger you? And if it does, you need to do an audit. Why does it trigger you? Why does someone else's post on Instagram or social media trigger you? Ask yourself questions. What are my triggers? And why is this triggering me? Is it a place that I need to improve on? Do I need to educate myself? Do I need to enhance my own gifts in these areas? Do I need to heal from something? Ask yourself. Triggers can be good. They can be a good sign. When you understand your triggers, it helps you to set the right boundaries. When you understand that spending time on social media and seeing people's highlights, seeing people live their best lives triggers you, then you set the boundary of either not to follow those people and follow only people who inspire you, or not to go on social media as often as you would. Yeah, we all want to do that, right? But seems like social media has us in a chokehold, but that's a story for another day. The fourth question that you would need to ask yourself will be, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? What have I been grateful for, and what am I grateful for right now? Gratitude zooms in on the things that are working. It helps you see the things that are working, and it helps you see what God is doing in your own life too. So ask yourself, what am I grateful for? I may not have everything right now, but what exactly brings joy to me right now? And question number 5 is,
how can I stay focused? And this is a question that you need to set in. You need to set as a reminder before you. Every time, anytime you want to do something, you want to go on social media, you ask yourself, how can I stay focused? How can I stay on my own lane? By focusing on the path that has been set before me and avoiding these distractions. So I know it's hard. It might seem hard to avoid comparison, but the awareness is what we need. The awareness is what we need to help us start to take action. It might be difficult in the beginning when you start to get conscious of these things, but it takes consistency and intentionality for you to see the results. And I tell you, when you get conscious of it, you can overcome it. And if you fall short, you just bounce right back. With time, you find that it gets easier and easier when you catch yourself doing it. And remember that God created you as an original. He has so much variety in Him. And so He's not looking for a repetition of what He has already created. He is looking for that particular person He has created to function in the path that He has placed that person on. So next time you feel yourself spiraling, ask yourself, what is true about me? What has God said about me? Because His word will always pull us back to the truth. All right, here's a recap of the questions that you need to ask yourself. What are my unique strengths? How can I show up? What are my triggers? What am I grateful for right now? And how can I stay focused? So here's your challenge for the week. I want you to pick one of the questions that I have just shared with you, and I want you to write about it. So maybe it's coming up with a gratitude list, or unfollowing accounts that are draining you, that drain you every time, or maybe it's just identifying your own unique strengths. All right, that is it for today's episode. I will see you in the next one.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. If it was a blessing to you and you enjoyed yourself, kindly do me a favor. Leave me a review, as this would allow this podcast to be discovered by women like you. You can also be a blessing to someone by sharing this episode with them. Until I come your way next time, stay blessed.